Hello, welcome to one of our online videos for the Heritage Open Days this year in 2020. I thought I'd just say something a little bit about the mosaic. It's a firm favourite of many of us who come into St Chad's. There's something of fascination to it. It's such a beautiful thing. When I came to Kirkby, I heard some people say, oh, it's a Henry Holiday mosaic. And some other people said, oh, it came from Venice. It was made by Venetian craftsmen. I was never quite sure what to believe. And then one day a lady called Alita Doran came to visit St Chad's on a Wednesday morning. And she's a mosaic expert from over in Frodsham who knows, is one of the real expert on this type of mosaic. And she said it's a Salviati mosaic. And that made no sense to me. I didn't know what that meant. But she came and she told me the story. Salviati was an Italian businessman who went to Venice and saw the state of the mosaics in St Mark's, the big basilica in the centre of Venice, full of mosaics, but they're in a terrible state. And he was very worried about it. And at that point, tourists would go and they'd just help themselves to stones off the mosaic as a memento of their visit to St Mark's. So you can imagine they were in a pretty dire condition. And he said, why don't we do anything about it? And they said, well, we haven't got the expertise anymore. The skills have gone. And he said, right. So he went off and he found all the old craftsmen who used to make the mosaics. They'd all gone back to their villages and he got them all back together. And he set up a workshop to, first of all, restore the mosaics in St Mark's. But then they started making more mosaics. And they became very popular in the 19th century. This was one of them. And the way it would work, it was quite clever. So the design of it, you'd get an artist to sketch out what you wanted your mosaic to look like. A big piece of paper, tracing paper, and they would draw it and colour it so that the mosaic artist knew what they were working from. And this one was designed by Henry Holiday. Henry Holiday was a pre-Raphaelite artist, British artist in the 19th century, painting and mosaics, but also stained glass windows. So most of the windows in St Chad's, most of the stained glass windows, were designed by Henry Holiday over a number of years. But he designed this, what they called the cartoon, the paper designing for this, and then it was sent over to Venice. And in the Salviati workshops, they made it. One of their innovations was that previously you had to make a mosaic on site because you'd put the cement on the wall and then you'd put your pieces of mosaic on site. So if you had a mosaic installed, you'd have to get the craftsmen to come up and stay, and they would live here while they did it, and it was very expensive. What they were able to do in the workshop was they made them up in panels, and then they would send the panels over with a couple of workmen, and they would then install them on site in the panels and make the whole up together. And you occasionally can see where the panels were. So as you can see, there's a line down here, and then the panel line goes up here, and you can see. So they would put it on, and then they would kind of try and fill the gaps. But you can just about make out, when you get close, you can make out where those lines were. And the way they did it as well, just amazing really, was that they would set the stones in the workshop in Venice face down in some kind of glue, or I forget what it is exactly, but they'd set them face down into something. So the workmen making it in Venice never got to see what we see now, this side of it. They would set them face down, they'd send the panels over, they'd get the panel then mounted into the permanent cement on the wall, and then wash off the temporary mount on this side and reveal the mosaic. And I wonder what that was like for the people here, having this mosaic gradually revealed as they washed off what it was sent over in. So that was when it was installed, that's how they did it. So that's the mosaic. The Salviati workshop in Venice was where it was made, and it was shipped over. Now I'm told that one of the ways that you can tell the quality of it, and there's a number of things. One obviously is the size. A lot of places would have one of these, but they'd be much smaller. This is huge for a mosaic. How many hours it would take. The tiny little pieces and the pattern and the detail, the texture and the pattern in Jesus' cloak here is quite incredible. The attention to detail, the way the lines of the fabric hang, and the way they've shown the muscles in the legs of the disciple over there. And the fact that in Jesus' fingers and their toes, some of the stones are shaped like toenails and fingernails, picking them out. The level of detail is incredible. It's also got quite a high number of glass pieces, these red ones here, and some of the others are glass rather than ceramic, and they give a different quality to it. and the amount of glass in it apparently is a sign of its quality. And the gold, again, round the halos of the 11 disciples and Jesus. It's easy to spot Judas over there, who doesn't have a halo. So it really is quite special. The other thing with mosaics is that the best ones are not smooth on the surface. When you get up close and you look across this, you'll see it's really, the surface isn't flat at all. It's got quite a lot of texture and shape. And one of the reasons for that is that so when you're looking at it in person, as you move, it shimmers and glitters, and you get the different light patterns reflecting off it, and it makes it come to life. It's one of the really special things about a mosaic. And this one really has got a lot of texture in it. And it makes it impossible to photograph, because when you photograph, you stop all that you get naturally when you're here in person. You don't get any of that sense of movement. But it is, again, one of the things, and how they manage that when they're building it face down in Venice and then mounting up. I really have no idea how they did it. So that's the Salviati Mosaic in here, designed by Henry Holiday, made in Venice in the Salviati workshops and then installed here. Absolutely fabulous piece of art. The Last Supper, Jesus there with the bread and the wine, looking quite serious, knowing what was going to happen to him shortly as he went out to be arrested and then executed on the cross the next day on Good Friday. Capturing the moment where Judas leaves. Judas doesn't get a halo, certainly no saint, as he leaves and betrays Jesus. And the chalice of wine, the cup of wine and the bread that we remember at communion each week as well, front and centre in there. Fabulous piece of work. Reminiscent a little bit of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, but a very different style. They're much more crammed into the space, whereas Da Vinci's one, they're all kind of stretched out at a very long table. Different again, it can be interesting to see the two pictures together. There is one more of these, and they made two near identical copies. The one here in St Chad's, and there's one over in the States somewhere. I forget where exactly it is, but there is a picture of it online. I'll try and link it from the in below this video on YouTube. Do come down and see anything else that we're doing on site. Come and have a look around the old graveyard. The oldest part of the site is the old graveyard. Some lovely wildflowers over there, really special space, and some really beautiful old graves as well. The oldest one from 1698. So do come down if you can, join us outside and have a wander around. Thank you.